Good morning. Day 10 of our 30-day challenge. And today is really about exposure. I was thinking this morning about how it's so easy in the beginning. And once things start to pick up, by day 10, we're at our 30% mark. The emotions start to fade away. Excitement has kind of settled, and you start to get a revelation of the truth. You start to see the truth of who I am, not who I say I am, not who you wrote down in the beginning, but who you really are. And you see this by your actions. What am I doing? What did I do this morning? What did I do last night? What did I skip? And I think that's the reason why most people quit, is because they see who they are and they rather live in that space of comfort than doing the challenging thing that actually grows them. We all want to grow. We all say we do, but we're not willing to pay that price. And we're not willing to pay that price every day consistently. And when you hear about these studies, like the New Year's resolution study, I think they say 90% of New Year's resolutions are abandoned. No, they said 70% are abandoned by March, and then 90% fade away by July. I know we've heard about most businesses. They say after the first 2 or 3 years, I think 70% of them fail. And by 8 years or 10 years, 90% of them are non-existent. And I think that starting strong is great. But what happens over time is that slow negotiation with discomfort until we go back and return to what's familiar. So bottom line is that consistency that we run away from, that exposes our identity. It exposes excuses. It exposes compromise, emotional decision making when you did something just because you felt like it or because you were hungry, angry, lonely. It exposes our standards. We talked about standards the other day. And it exposes our dependency on outside forces, which some people call motivation. But anything outside of you that you need to get to that next level, it gets exposed in these moments. So the transformation that we're looking for is not going to be found in doing what's easy or what's convenient. It's going to be found in doing what's necessary. And the transformation really belongs to those people who continue to do the things that are necessary even after the emotion disappears. I know in our group, most of us have given up. Most of us have settled and compromised. And I'm not going to say it's okay, but we still have a chance. We still got another day. This 30-day challenge is for our group. But at the end of this challenge, you got your life to live. This is not for anybody in the group except yourself. So today is a new day that you can start over. And I'm going to keep saying this, every single day is a new day to start over. It's not about the fall. It's about the rise. So I want to talk about excuses, though, today. And excuses are dangerous because we don't even realize they're excuses a lot of times. We make excuses for our excuses because excuses are not necessarily evil. They actually sound logical a lot of times. But excuses are things that prevent us from achieving our growth and our transformation. And a lot of times they're comfortable. And even sometimes they are protective. So I want to talk about some excuses that I've made that I've heard and that I think are quietly destroying our potential, quietly sabotaging our growth, and ultimately limiting our transformation. And the biggest one is, I'll do it later. And it could be, I'll start tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, because it always moves the goalpost. 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes, 10 minutes becomes next week, and you look up and you don't end up doing it, or you do it at a time where it costs you more. Another one is, I'm too tired. And yeah, there's a physical tired. I think your body deserves rest. There's also a mental tired. Your mind deserves rest. But do we really understand what it means to be tired? And if we're measuring our level of tiredness by our emotion, because sometimes we're actually not tired, we just don't feel like doing it. And so we give the excuse of being tired. Another excuse, and this one is very subtle and very, what's the word? It sneaks in, and it's the excuse that I already missed a day. Because now you feel like you missed a day, and that becomes permission to completely give up. Well, I didn't do it one day, so I'm done. Another excuse is the need for motivation. I need to feel motivated. I just don't feel motivated. And it ties back to relying on feelings. And I'm telling you, I keep talking about the same things. You're going to hear every single video, every single conversation is going to be rooted in the same principles. Feelings are secondary. You cannot allow your feelings to lead you. And this is biblical. I don't feel like doing it. I'm waiting for motivation. These are all concepts that are necessary for growth. If you are led by your emotions, by your feelings, you're only going to go so far. And there's a difference between inspiration, which comes from within, and motivation, which is something you're looking outside for. I believe inspire, the root word has to do with in spirit. I believe, and you guys can look that up. I'll look it up too, actually. But when we talk about inspired action, we're talking about directly from God, directly from the Spirit of God within you. And when that Spirit of God tells you to do something, tells you to move, that's very different than emotion. That's very different than feeling. Emotion is more so something that comes from a thought. It's secondary. That inspired thought, or that inspired emotion that comes from within, from the Spirit of God, that's deeper. That's something that comes straight from God, not in response to anything else. Another excuse is, I don't have time. And this is something that I've said to myself, and I'm slowly overcoming it, because what I do now is, when I make that excuse, I actually just pull out my timer and I time it. How long does this take me to actually do? I used to say I didn't have time to journal, I didn't have time to pray, I didn't have time to meditate. And when I found out how long these things were actually taking, and then if you look at your phone and see how much time you spend on YouTube, social media, things that don't lead to your transformation and your growth, it's a revelation of what you're really serious about. Who are you? Your identity. Because you're going to make time for what you really prioritize and value. Another one that's very, very deadly is the excuse of, well, it's just a little bit. It's just, and I hear this a lot. This is not one that I can relate to, because I don't believe in this. I've never really been an advocate of this. I think there's a saying, you give an inch and they'll take a mile. And when we make that excuse, oh, it's just a little bit every now and then, it adds up. Small compromises repeated over time, they start to forge your identity. They start to become who you are. And so don't make that excuse that, oh, I'm just going to skip a day. Oh, it's just once in a while. Or I'm just going to have a little bite of this candy. If that's not within your identity, if that's not something that you plan to do, it's an excuse that you have to, I would suggest, to eliminate. And what I'm referring to is, here's an example. You set out to do something. You've got a 7-day diet, and your diet says you eat 1 meal a day. On day 3, you get invited, and somebody says, hey, have some breakfast. And they're like, it's just breakfast. It's just 1 meal. It's not going to hurt you. You didn't plan on doing that. That wasn't part of your plan. And that small compromise, it does affect you, because you did it once. More than likely, it's going to happen again. That's what I've seen. There are some people that are very, very strong and they can actually do that. But why even take that chance? And that leads to another excuse. Nobody will know. And this is actually a legitimate excuse because nobody will know most of the time except you and God. And so if you actually believe that God is with you, God watches you, God takes notice, and God will know. What does God say about that thing that you put off, that excuse that you're making? And your subconscious notices, your confidence notices. And if you don't trust yourself, it's going to be hard to grow. Another one is this whole notion of a pity party. When you feel like you've done enough, I need to rest, I can't take it anymore. And then you go and do the opposite, telling lies to yourself that it's not that important. But your future is being shaped by the very thing that you're minimizing. The thing that you think is not important is controlling your destiny. The scariest part about excuses is we actually believe these excuses. And that's part of the reason why we tend to stay stuck. We tend to not grow. You look at your life and you're in the same predicament you were in last year. The same people, the same circumstances, the same environment. There's no growth. And it's because, one of the reasons is because our mind is designed to protect comfort, to conserve energy. So if you allow your mind, if you trust your mind to do everything, then the moment discomfort appears, it starts to create stories to help you escape action. Okay, anything, your mind is not really designed to do more and to do things that don't really preserve you. It's designed for the preservation and comfort. Okay, when it comes to growth, when it comes to doing things that are uncomfortable, those alarms go off. Pain, no, those alarms go off. Hey, this is not right. We're not supposed to do this. Something's not right here. There's a lady, I think she's a coach of some sort. Her name is Mel Robbins. I listened to her a few years ago, and it really changed my life. She has this technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 method, and it's based on rockets, NASA rocket launches. How when they count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they lift off. And her method is so powerful because it says that the moment your mind is telling you to do something, or the moment you know you need to do something and your mind is fighting against it, you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you take action immediately without thinking about it. I heard her say this was probably a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And one of the things that I wanted to do was start engaging in cold showers, cold plunges. And the only reason I wanted to do it was because of the mental challenge that it gave me. I don't take cold showers because I like them. I don't take cold showers because of the benefits, even though I learned about the benefits. But what happens when I take cold showers is the minute I get in, first of all, my mind is screaming. My brain is screaming. The alarms are going off. Hey, this ain't right. We got to get out of here. And your ability to stay, for me, my ability to stay in that cold shower is a win. Because now I've demonstrated that I have control over my mind, over that part of me that's telling me that I can't do something. And so when I start my day going into it with that win, that mental win, it sets me up for the rest of the day. Because now I know that the other lies that the mind tells me, I can overcome. And so the cold shower is not about, being in the cold. To be honest, I don't enjoy it. Some days I hate it. I dread it. But the thing that helped me get to that point was Mel Robbins. And she said that moment you feel the hesitation, the excuse, or the negotiation, getting up. So the two things were getting out of bed and taking the cold shower. So I would wake up, and as soon as I wake up, I'd negotiate. Should I hit the snooze button? Maybe I should sleep for 5 more minutes. But the moment I started saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just get up, no thought, no time to negotiate, just move. Because what you're doing is you're not allowing the excuse to grow roots. You're not allowing the emotion to take over. And you're not allowing the fear to disguise itself and come in as logic. Because the longer that I noticed that I would sit in that hesitation, the stronger the excuse got. I would stay there in the bed. I'd lay there for 2 minutes. It's like, okay, well, let me lay for 5. This feels good. Now my body says, you see, you need some rest. It doesn't hurt. But every time that I would get up, I would feel great after an hour. The first 5-10 minutes would be sluggish, but after 20-30 minutes, I'm good. And the excuses don't disappear forever, because they'll come back. But you can see them clearly. And it's not meant to make you feel shameful, but it's meant to reveal you. Because you can't transform what you don't confront. So the question that I have today is, I got a few questions. Let's ask ourselves honestly, what excuses have I been repeating for years? And this might take a long time to think about it. It might not even show up until you wake up in the morning, or until you go to bed at night, or until you talk to your dad or your mom. And what truth about myself has been exposed these last 10 days? Today's day 10. And where have I still negotiated? Where have I still been pretending? And what patterns are controlling my life? We all have patterns. We all have subconscious patterns, subconscious programs, identities, beliefs that we've subscribed to that control our life. And finally, and this might be the most important question, now that you know all these things, are you gonna keep protecting those excuses, or are you gonna finally put them to rest and just bury them and be done with it? Today's day 10. Let's go into day 10 strong. Today's a Sunday, and I think it's an opportunity for us to have a moment of reflection on these things. Whatever you do, if you can find some time today, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just reflect on this.